Coach, been an exciting past couple of months. I know there's been a lot of buzz around a certain player that just got to campus, going to be a big part of the offensive side of the ball. What can you tell us about your long snapper, Trent Middleton, who transferred in this past cycle from Orange Lutheran High School, my alma mater? How has he been adjusting?
Well, he hasn't been officially here yet, but
Okay.
we're excited about him and what he's going to bring to the table. He's actually visiting today, so I'm excited to talk with him and meet with him. But yeah, we're ready for him to be here.
Okay, great. He's an Orange Lutheran Lancer, so there's some
That's
stock
awesome.
on my side there, seeing how he
High
progresses
value.
in the collegiate ranks. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But
Absolutely.
how about, I know there's another player that got to campus, actually is on campus going through practice. What has been your impressions of Bryce Underwood so far?
He's been outstanding. He's one of those kids that you got to pull back. You got to tell him to get some rest, make sure you're sleeping the recovery piece because he's just a worker and he never stops. He wants to be the best. He'll do anything to be the best. And he's a great teammate, great young man. Foundation of his parents that they set for him has been awesome. And he does everything at an elite level, on and off the field. So just excited for him and for us as the future goes.
And there's other quarterbacks in that room, obviously, Jaden Davis, Mikey Keene. What's it going to take to win that job, and where do things currently stand in your mind as we move towards the finale of spring practice for you guys?
Yeah, right now I think it's open still. I'm excited to see what happens in the spring game and excited to see how it rolls into the summer and in fall camp. But all those guys have, I'd say Jaden Davis has really taken huge steps this fall camp and played really more confident. And you can see glimpses of things that he did in high school really show up in spring ball. So been proud of his progress and what he's done and made the competition even better.
What's it going to take to win that job in your mind? Is that something where you can win it at the end of spring? Is it something that's going to carry all the way up to week one, or what's a ideal timeline slash boxes you want checked for your starting quarterback?
Yeah, I feel like it usually carries into fall camp. All the real good battles that I've been a part of. I mean, you can say something at spring, but then it changes. So, we're going to take our time with the process of who that person is. It's so important, right? And, that person's going to have the ball in their hands every single play and make so many decisions. So for us, it's probably going to go into fall camp and then, probably a week before the game, the first game, make a decision and make the announcement then.
And you finished the year so strong last year with wins over Ohio State, wins over Alabama. What do you feel like you learned about your team and your culture with how y'all finished 2024?
Feel like as a culture, it just felt like together, family. Nobody pointed fingers. Everybody just found a way to get it done. And really, our theme has been team over me. And everything in the world we live in today with NIL and revenue sharing and Instagram and Twitter and all these things that point to yourself. To watch our team over those last three games and then into winter cycle and into spring ball, it's been really awesome to watch the culture just sustain from what it used to be and what it needs to be here for forever. And been exciting. I think this team's in a real good place and a great trajectory and ready for this week and ready for really the summer.
And how do you, as a head coach, manage that? Because you mentioned the culture and the intangibles that obviously it takes to compete at the highest level, but at the same time, I'm sure you're trying to get as many ballers on campus as possible.
Yeah.
What's the strategy or philosophy for you when it comes to balancing cultural intangibles and all those things, but also trying to get the best players possible?
I mean, you got to do a great job in the evaluation process, obviously with film and what we do there, and we got to do a great job and make sure that these guys are all fits here, not just football fits, but locker room fits, culture fits. So for us, there's a standard of the type of player that's going to be here and type of families. You're not just recruiting the players, you're recruiting families. So those are the kinds of people that care about football, but care about their academic success and academic prowess of this university that are really going to be the people that end up coming to Michigan and end up standing out here, and all the other things take care of themselves.
You mentioned adding to the family, added a new offensive coordinator to the family over the course of the last
Yeah.
few months. What was your process, and what made Chip Lindsey the right hire for you to be the next OC at Michigan?
First of all, he's a great human being, a man of great values, great human being that, as I did a lot of research and called a lot of coaches and players, I got to talk to Drake May before it all happened and asked him about, what was his process of how his, coordinator he had before he got Chip, and talking to those guys usually gives you the answers to the test and lets what kind of person that is. And then doing the research as a ball coach, seeing the schemes that he's ran and things that he's been a part of, and he's been a head coach, he's been offensive coordinator, so he's ran the show, he's been a part of it, he's run a room, but I just wanted somebody that was going to be completely selfless, that wanted to be great for Michigan, and he checked all those boxes, and he's done an unbelievable job with the offense this spring and putting guys in a position to be successful, and super excited to see where it is.
And I know before we got on the air here, we were talking about the spring game format. You got the draft, split the building up. Is Coach Lindsey calling plays for both sides of the thing, or how does that work with the staff when it comes to drafting the spring game rosters?
Yeah, actually, Coach Lindsey and Coach Wink are owners of two teams,
Okay.
and they actually drafted their coordinators for each side of the ball. So it's going to be a cool, coaches development piece as well. And so I'm excited to watch it all happen. Though, I mean, they'll be involved in it, but those guys will be kind of on the side. They've done enough for the spring, and we're letting some other guys call some plays. And I mean, it won't be, we're not going to let anything crazy out the bag of what we're doing it, but I'm sure there'll be some trick plays here and there that guys that we'll be using, and it'll be fun. It'll be a fun spring game.
Well, you mentioned Coach Wink. I mean, the defensive side of the ball has just been a staple for Michigan over the course of the last few years. This year, you're probably going to have, I don't think it's that, controversial to say, probably 3 first-round picks on that side of the ball. How do you go about maintaining that standard here while losing those tremendous talents of a Will Johnson, a Mason Graham, and a Kenneth Grant?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can't replace those guys. Those guys were elite players and great human beings and great kids. Love them to death. And what they did for Michigan, they're legends, forever here. But you got to be able to bring in, new talent and players that can help and shape and buy into the culture. And we've got a lot of guys that have played here already that'll make an impact here. But then we've got a lot of guys that, we've brought in that really have just assimilated to the culture and been outstanding. So I think we'll be a pretty deep defense. And, it's a little too early to tell, but right now we're on a trajectory to be that way.
Coach, how would you define your culture? Because it seems like since you got there, but since you've taken over as the head man at Michigan from Coach Harbaugh, there's been almost a consistent temperature when we watch Michigan play. How would you define your culture, maybe relative to what Coach Harbaugh's was?
I mean, I think me and Coach had a very similar thought process on culture and what we wanted it to look like and feel like. And really, it's about the team. And it's about, everybody doing everything they can to help the team. And not just on the field, but off the field. And the love and the family piece has to be a huge piece of it. And people always ask, like, what's your coaching style? I always just say, coach harder and love harder. We coach extremely hard here. We push guys. We make sure we put them in uncomfortable positions. But at the end of the day, they understand we love them and we take care of them. And we got their best interests at heart.
And going back to the way you've put together your staff, I think one of the more low-key additions that maybe the average college football fan may not be in tune with, General Manager Sean McGee, back on staff at Michigan. What was your decision-making process, and what's been his impact since he's gotten back to Ann Arbor?
I mean, when I first got the job, it was just a thought process of kind of forward thinking of knowing where the world is and what we have to do to be successful in this space. And we've got to adapt. We always say adapt or die. So that was a big piece, and he was the first person that came to my mind. I previously worked with him here. I knew, the kind of work that he'd done when he was here and kind of what his goals were and what he wanted to be. So he was my first call as that position, and it was very easy for me to make that decision. And he's been outstanding for us and helped us in so many ways and been such an impactful player for this team and for us to build this roster.
I think everybody talks about the general manager position in modern college football and the portal, and like NIL just seems to be at the forefront of every one of those discussions. With a place like Michigan and what seems to be the firepower y'all are working with, how do you navigate this world of NIL and kind of we spoke to before, like also manage culture and all those things that just great football teams have?
Yeah, I think the biggest piece is you have to have those same conversations with recruits that you've always had. And if the first thing they're asking about is how much money they're going to make, then it's probably not the type of player you want. I think every family is going to ask about that at some point in the conversation because it's just part of college football now. So you got to have a way to take advantage of it, and you got to have a way to make sure that you have a plan for each player that comes in, that's here, and that they can see the value and what's going to happen. But at the same time, if that's all you're worried about, then we've got a problem. We've got to have a standard of you want to play for this university, you want to play for Michigan, you want to wear the maize and blue, be a part of this culture, be a part of this tradition. And if that's not the case, then we probably need to look at why is that not the case. And if you really don't want to be a part of this culture and it's all about money, then you probably don't need to come here. And I think that has to be a part of our standard and how we build it. And that's what Jim did, and that, we built a pretty successful program here. And obviously, we've had to change it. We've had to adapt because of things changing in the college football in the landscape. So for us, that's always going to be a piece of it. Of you got to want to play here. You got to want to be a part of this thing, because when it's 3rd and 1 in that snowy, rainy game, or it's 3rd and 10 and you're covering the best receiver or whatever it is, like you got to want to be in that situation. So we make sure, and then the way we practice, man, we practice physical, we practice hard. So it's going to get tough, and it can't just be about the money. You got to want to be here.
And I think, especially with Bryce Underwood's recruitment, everybody wants to talk about NIL and what he went to Michigan for and all those things. Like, what were your conversations like with him during that process of just like, hey, you're coming to Michigan, there's going to be a lot of noise around you. Even with him on campus now, there's a lot of noise around him. How are you talking to him about handling just all the extra stuff that comes with being in his position as a freshman at Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, I think it first starts with Bryce with his foundation of his mom and dad, Jay and Beverly. They've really created a very humble human being who he's confident. He's confident in his abilities, but he's humble, and he just wants to work and be the best. And for me, it's been more the conversations to make sure you keep that all close to the vest. You keep your circle tight, because there's gonna be so many people around you that want to be a part of his circle, right, and be a part of him and do the things he does. But he just wants to be around his teammates. He loves football and loves his family. That's it. So it's not super hard to keep him out of all the crazy stuff, because he doesn't really, go out and do all those things. And he's about football. He's about his teammates, and that's really the long and short of it. But for him, it's just keeping him humble. He'll make plays and be confident, but he's a humble kid that really just loves his teammates.
Coach, I want to pivot a little bit now to some conversation around apparel. If you're watching this on YouTube, people are seeing the Jordans behind you. Also, Michigan being a Jordan school, like how deep is the Jordan collection for you?
It's pretty deep.
Got to be, right?
Yeah, that's deep. I think I'd say I'm probably at, like, I don't know, 65, 70 pairs of Jordans.
Geez, are those all team issued, or are we going out and snagging a couple for
I got a
ourselves on the
couple
side here?
myself, but I'm not a big like buyer. I had a sick addiction in 23 where I started buying Jordan Low ones, and like it'd come every week. I'd see a new one. But it's a combination of team issued and shoes that the Jordan brand has sent me, which has been awesome. Blessed and thank you, Jordan brand, for the collection. And yeah, it's a deep deal. It could become a sick addiction if you let it, just like anything else.
Sure, everything in moderation, but maybe
That's
not
right.
the Jordans, maybe a little
The
extra.
Jordans can be a little bit more though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are the ones the go-to then for you? Are you like an 11s guy? Like what's
Yeah,
the
ones are go-to. Game day fours. There's PE fours that I wear, blue ones, but uh, normally just walking around the ones, dunks or
interesting?
ones.
Okay, the ones. I mean, it's not a bad staple to have in the game. I'm not an owner of any
No,
ones, but I see them and I'm like, I
yeah,
need to jump on the train there. So maybe this is what
yeah,
puts me over the edge.
you should.
Second apparel question for you. Our production team does a phenomenal job when it comes to B-roll, but whenever they're breaking down the Michigan practice B-roll, a lot of game jerseys. I mean, only game jerseys.
Yeah,
Tell me the process behind practicing in game. Maybe I don't know if they're game-ish jerseys, but like, what's
yeah.
the process there for you?
They are literally game jerseys, whether they're old game jerseys or game jerseys from the year before, and it's really just because we want to practice. We want to play like we practice. So
Hmm.
we want to be in the same apparel. We want to dress the same we do on game day that we do on practice day. And I'd never really been a part of it until I came here, and I just I was kind of surprised. Like, man, we wear game jerseys on practice day, and I was a big like coach is like, yeah, you want to play like you practice. And at first I was like, well, kind of, maybe you do. And then as I've been here, I was like, that makes absolute sense. We want your jerseys to be tucked in. You want to look a certain way. So you tell them in practice, then it just becomes second nature in the game. And we don't have any issues on game day about shirts hanging out or anything looking different. And we all want to look the same. So we've always kept it that way, and we'll always keep it that way.
Well, it makes for great B-roll. So we appreciate y'all putting that together.
Yeah,
I mean, we
appreciate it.
enjoy being able to visually consume that. So thank you for that on our side of things. Coach,
No
last
problem.
question. We appreciate all your time. Week 2 is going to be a big one. You going back to Norman. Walk me through the emotions you're going to be feeling when you walk out there on that sideline, on the other side at your alma mater.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I think I'll be hyped up because I always am before a game, but there's a calming feeling regardless of where you are. I think that one will be a little different because that's where I played, but at the same time, man, this will be year 8 here at Michigan, so like this place is home for me, and it'll be like going against another team. So I'm excited for it and excited for that game, but let's get ready for the spring game and hit this summer cycle, and then we get ready for the next piece.
Love it. Well, Coach, again, thank you for all your time. I know you got a million things going on. We got the spring game draft just happening, but we're fired up to watch y'all get after it this weekend and pumped to see y'all get after it here in the fall.
Appreciate you, man. Go Blue.